Hello, and welcome to Front Row Vendors Podcast. I am your host, Autumn, and I've got Rodney Brown, who is a wedding photographer in North Carolina. I have currently, and probably for the past 6 or 8 months, he probably doesn't know this because I didn't tell him this, been drooling over his work constantly because his I don't know, his tones are beautiful, which is speaking of tones, he's got a preset that's called Tones for Humans. But yeah, so he's absolutely phenomenal. And I've been talking with him before we even got on, laughing with them. So if any of the stuff that we've talked beforehand comes through into the podcast, you guys are really in for an awesome treat today. So let me just get right on into it. We got Rodney right in front of me. How are you
Oh,
doing?
I'm doing fantastic. I like that the early plug for the presets. That came in quick. I was like, okay, there we
I'm
go.
gonna try, man.
No,
What's
I'm
so
doing real good.
tell everybody about you and your background.
Yeah. I'm originally from California. I'm from the Bay Area, like
Lucky.
20 minutes outside of San Francisco. Yeah. It's a nice place. And I mean, shoot, I'm you know one of those dudes who just started taking pictures when I was 16, 17 for fun.
There you go.
And, kind of like we were talking about before we started recording, is like it kind of just ballooned and spiraled into something else. And now I'm here and I'm just like kind of rolling with it. And so, it all started for fun until I was like, oh, like I could make money doing this.
Right.
It's kind of just continued just trying to balance, keeping it fun and keep making money.
Well, what were you shooting before weddings? Were you shoot? Because usually when a lot of photographers get started, we always start with families, and then somehow we go into seniors, and then from seniors we go to models, and then
Oh
some.
man, I started the whole different way. So
Did
I
you?
started, yeah. So basically, I had like this small group of friends who were all like film photographers, right? And so we all just had like old cameras and we're taking pictures of each other.
Nice.
So it'd be like, what are you doing? Friday. Oh, nothing. All right, so we're gonna go out. We're gonna take some pictures. Go get food later. You know what I mean? So that's how it started. And I think that coincidentally, I was actually so people knew that he takes pictures around and stuff like that. But like I wasn't like working gigs or anything like that. And
Right.
so I was asked to help shoot, for a favor, like the video of someone's wedding or something like that. Yeah. That's right.
Wow.
That's right. And I was like, I have no idea what I'm doing, but like, okay. And so like I was just assisting but like I just took some stills of like some of the bridesmaids, stuff like that, just for fun. And then I was like, oh, here you go. And they loved them. And so someone literally saw one of the pictures I took at someone else's wedding for fun of like a bridesmaid or something like that. And they asked me if I could, I saw you take pictures. Could you shoot my wedding? That was like the first wedding like
Heck yeah.
ever. And so then it was just kind of like, oh, I saw you did blah blah's pictures. Can you do my pictures? And then, it's like that.
Do you feel like was that the wedding that you feel like was the confirmation that you needed that this is what I should be doing?
No, not at all.
Which one was that one then?
I'm still waiting. No, I'm kidding.
Ah,
No. The I would say, man, there was because it's one of those things. I guess being, a lot of us are hard on ourselves, right? And a lot of us are constantly looking to our work for confirmation, like
oh yeah.
every gig, me especially. Like I'm so crazy, ridiculously hard on myself. It annoys even me. And so I think though I had a wedding almost 2 years ago now, which feels recent, but and it was like this elopement, and I was able to like separate myself from it and say, "Oh, dang, this is good work, man! Like you killed this." You know what I mean? And it was something I was proud of, and because I liked it outside of myself, and I loved how I navigated through it. Their family, was amazing, and we connected, and the story I was able to tell through the pictures, like that was transformative because I was able to take that like intimate wedding and like how I felt like I found like Rodney's set groove that day,
That's
because
awesome.
it's always feels like an experiment, right?
Right.
Every wedding is like an experiment. Every wedding you're like, okay, maybe I'm like gonna tweak this tiny little thing or something like that. I
Right.
felt like I was like, I found my groove, and um, it's kind of just grown as like a really well-oiled machine since that. Like it was kind of like a defining,
Right.
because I had some like work I was proud of before that, but like something about it, you know what I mean? I felt like I shot it different. I felt like it was like my style changed from that day forward. It was yeah, yeah.
Do you feel, because I feel like your work would never probably, and this is just because of my opinion, I feel like your work would never be shit at all. You should not have to doubt your work. But because of you feeling like this was like your turning point, do you feel because of the connection you had with the couple was like one of the main things that made you go, this is where I need to be, and this is why I did so good, because of the connection I had with my couple and the family?
Yes and no. I think that it was one that I really thought would be good for me. Um, I knew that the wedding was going to be a killer wedding. I knew that they were going to have great chemistry. I knew that we
Awesome.
connected. Um, and so I put a lot of pressure on myself for that wedding. I was like, I always have like a little like anxiety attack like the
Yeah,
week before a wedding.
of
I'm just
course.
like, especially if there's like a multiple weddings, I'm just like, okay, I was trying to psych myself the whole like 3, 4 days ahead. And so this wedding, I felt like I had a lot riding on it because I was like, Rodney, like, you know, I've already been doing this, but I felt like I wanted to get to another level of, I don't know, it felt like it was time to grow. And so by the time this came around, I was like, okay, you gotta kill this. You gotta do this different. You
Right.
gotta, and so I mean, I'm one of those people who like literally I'll write down goals for myself that I want to do before this, like on this wedding day. Like, no, this is the wedding that you are going to be working on this, and that.
That's
And so,
fantastic.
that day I just really felt like I had prepared, you know, mentally, like
Right.
to grow after this. And so it kind of and it worked out, it was really like a defining wedding. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Good for you. And with you, like, okay, so you said you second shot or you were assisting in a wedding, but you were assisting with video. Why do you feel like, because you got to have the experience with video, why do you feel like you still lean towards photography versus video?
Um that's a good question. I mean, I've kind of I've delved in the video since. It's just a lot of it's gear and a lot of it
Right.
is, the gear's crazy expensive. Uh and then there's just something like a fondness fondness I've found for stills, that is, it was a medium that was around before, cinema was. And there is this inherent like nostalgia with a still photo. And
Right.
you know the that it sounds so, I hate these words that are coming out of my mouth, but capturing a moment in time, there is something magical about it, and so I think that, it just is something, I don't know, symbolically it means something
Yeah.
else, and so it just kind of worked, uh, yeah,
Right.
it's kind of worked, yeah.
And I think for photographers, I think it's a little harder for us to create or get one shot that creates this, emotion when it's compared to video that clearly shows the emotion, because you can hear, see, and
Hmm.
walk yourself into the scene. But once we get that and we have that one shot and we've created the emotion and it's almost even better than the video, then we're like, this is
Yeah,
exactly
because
why.
no one's gonna hang a video on their wall, you know what I mean?
No.
Like, I
Uh-uh.
mean, not anytime soon, I guess, like
Right.
it's one of those things where, you know, I've noticed too that like I'll have, friends who have wedding pictures in their house, and the majority of like, you know, I say normal folks, 70% of them only will print one or two photos, right?
Yeah.
And some of them hardly have any just photos in their house, period. But there's always just that one photo that like, it's crazy to me that like of all the hundreds of photos they get from that day, like that was like the thing that they want to look at every single day. And
Right.
so, you know, being the person to make that thing that they look at every day, it's kind of nuts. It's pretty humbling. It's pretty cool. Like walking into like clients' homes when I'm like in town and they're like, "Oh, come by" or whatever like that, or former clients, and you look back and that's something I shot like 2 years ago, 3 years ago.
Right.
And it's like, that's something people see every time they go into their house. Like, it's awesome. Like,
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah. No,
But I,
it's a cool thing.
and another thing I think is humbling is the fact that, and I know you probably had the experiences where we think that we've captured this bomb ass picture. It's epic. They're going to love it, which they end up loving. But for some reason, they find more of an attraction to a picture we would not have even thought. But because they know more of what's going on in the picture to them, it's more humbling to understand that, wow, I wouldn't have thought of it that way. And it almost makes you reapproach something or another wedding completely different just because of that.
I actually went through that completely.
Yeah.
Yes. Like 100%. Um, it actually, looking at it that way actually completely changed like my approach at a certain point. Yeah. Like keeping in mind, like what they actually, what I had to start shooting, like what would I like I never thought about it that way.
Right.
Like I'm not married, and I'm like, what am I looking for in a photographer, you know what I mean? And so I started realizing that like some of the stuff I shot, like I don't really care for, so like I stopped doing it, you know what I mean?
That's good.
Like, and it worked. And a lot of it was the stuff I would like, the same normal stuff other people would like, you know, like the, you know, picture of, you know, someone like hugging their grandma or something like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like that stuff, you know? Um, yeah, I think like that's so important to keep in mind. People don't really want those crazy Instagram pictures like in their house, you know?
Right.
That's not the one they're gonna look at all the time.
No, I agree. Something that
Yes.
has is more memorable is what they're wanting to look for.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So when a couple comes and books with you, what do they get with you?
Like package wise or what? Or
Package
just like
wise
when they're coming with me?
or
Just
just like
me.
because of course they're going to book with you not only because of your work but because of your personality. Like what do you give them as a whole? Like do you keep in contact with them a lot? Do you make sure you help
Oh,
them out? Yeah, stuff like that.
yeah, you know, so I tell people, like I send all my clients like a welcome pack, and I kind of like intro them in like this. It's I've kind of worked on creating this mood from the beginning. Like, hey, look, you know, I'm a professional, but the goal is I want to feel by the time I get to your wedding, everyone's like, "Oh, that's Rodney." Hey, like, "Oh yeah, he's just." I mean, it's just Rodney, man. He's just hanging out. You know what I mean? Like,
Right.
that's where I want to be with you by the time we're shooting away. You
That's
know, and
awesome.
so from here forward, we're just all we're doing is building that trust.
Right.
And so, you know, there's some people who like their weddings are like a year away, you know what I mean? And it's like it's not necessary to like talk every day, you know.
Right.
Sometimes it's not even necessary to talk every month, but you know, being in their consciousness in some way, shape, or form, you know, when you're friends, you're gonna reach out every month in some way. You're gonna be
Right.
active on their Instagram, you're gonna be this, that, and the other. And so when I book clients, you know, I just try to give them this experience, this really down to earth experience.
Right.
Um, and it's all in a effort to make it so I can get the most honest pictures by the time I'm there, you know.
Yeah.
And so I feel like that has to start super early. And
Right.
so, you know, and a lot of folks, you know, they you know, it's hard off the bat to get so personable with a professional they're hiring.
Right.
And so kind of, you know, trying to balance the, you know, you can trust me, you know, your money is safe, you know, this is a good investment, with like, hey, like we don't gotta worry about it. It's not that serious, you know what I
Right.
mean?
Right.
Like it is that serious, but it's not that serious, you know? And so, you know, just trying to create an environment. And so I think that that's one thing that is, I don't want to say it's because there's people try to do this. They try to, you know, and everyone's good at it to their extent. But I feel like that's what makes my whole experience unique is
Right.
that, you know, I try to remind them that, hey, this is the part that's business, you know.
Yeah.
We're going to take care of business like business. But everything outside of that is creating this safe space, you know,
Oh yeah.
of camaraderie, you know, so that by the time I'm doing what I got to do, they're not even tripping off me, you know?
Right. And
Yeah.
with couples, they need to treat with hiring their vendors as though it's the first date. You're going to be a little cautious because it's
Hmm.
a complete stranger. But as long as you're asking the right questions and making sure that you're comfortable before moving on, and the vendor should be able to be open enough to let them know, hey, this is how I work. This is how I, work with my clients. You'll develop that relationship that you're talking about. And when the wedding day comes, you'll be able to capture them because you like you said you built this friendship, and that's exactly how you should always do it, because you can't capture a complete stranger and their personality.
Yeah. You
Yeah.
know, I mean, and I almost even advocate like, you know, give them reasons to not book you to some extent. Like if there's going to be something that turns them off about you, like test the waters, man. You know, like
Oh,
see what is going to not work. Because I always tell them, I say, hey, look, you know, this is bloop, 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 how I work. I'm not like mean or rude or anything about it like
no.
that at all. But it's like, you know, I'm just gonna level with you. Like this is how I am, this is how I approach things. I need your trust completely. So you could just let me do what I need to do so you can do what you need to do. You know what I mean?
Right.
And but you know, if anything, even if you don't book with me, I'm just gonna say this is what you should look out for because I know this is you know, you this is traveled territory that you're in right now. Most
Right.
people are just going looking into vendors for the first time. I know it's probably scary water. So even if you don't book with me, here's blah 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 blah. And so like I will, you know, I'm like, hey, like we're both in this together, you know. So, you know, we don't have to, this doesn't have to end this way, but we can have, you know, me being super candid with them has actually turned into me booking a lot, you know. Like I've
Oh
had
yeah.
people specifically tell me they booked me because they, you know, I was so candid with the fact that like, you know, like, hey, you don't have to book me, you know, this is something you should be compelled to, you know what I mean?
Right.
And then I'm making the relationship stronger, you know, 100% of the time.
Oh yeah, you got to hire. Like I always say, you have to hire with trust, because it's only going to benefit them on their wedding day. When you're at their wedding and photographing, they don't have to go, where the fuck is Rodney? Oh, I know exactly. He's taking care of shit. I'm good. So I can focus on something else. And that's how
Yeah,
they always should do it.
I mean, you know, they shouldn't even be thinking about shit. If you're really doing your job, their mama and aunt shouldn't be thinking about you. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know, that that's the level I want to be at by the time I'm, you know, midday. Because you know, someone's always, you know, if it's not the bride and groom or someone else, you know. And so, you know, to be on that level with as many people in the family as possible, because it, you know, starts with a couple, and then you know you go from there. And so I try to like, you know, come in like I'm the, you know, the cousin out of town or something like that, you know,
Hell yeah.
and it
So,
works.
if you could think back, what's your funnest wedding that you photographed?
Ooh, funnest. I mean, man, I've actually had some pretty fun weddings because I always feel like I get these really counterculture weddings. Um,
Hmm.
uh, so I had, oh yeah, okay. So I had this couple, Holly and John is their names, amazing people. And so first they had like a ceremony that was, and I never blogged this wedding. I'm really bad at that. They had a ceremony that was in a circle. So
Oh, I love that.
everyone was in a circle. And so what happened was they actually like, but it was like almost like a, like a, like a clamshell circle. So they went like in and like into a spiral till they got into the, you know what I mean? And so they passed
Oh,
through everyone, and the thing was to like completeness or something like that. Um, and it was to be super intimate. And so they did like their ceremony. I mean, and I'm not talking about like it was like an intimate wedding. Uh, it was like hundreds of people there, and it was in a
wow.
circle. You know what I mean? Um, but like they did um, their ceremony where like everyone agreed to love each other, not just them. Like, and everyone had to like go hold the hand of a new person, meet a new person next to them, and like and then it literally like they kissed and they started playing like traditional like Jewish music,
Awesome.
and like everyone busted into dance, and they all like carried them from like the main like the ceremony room into like it's like this beautiful like exposed wood warehouse big place, and everyone, it just turned into a dance party from that point forward, and it did not stop. Like, did not stop. They did not care for any of the oh, we gotta cut the cake or this, that, and the other. They
Right.
like, it just was dance from that point forward. And there were a couple though who like really, really, really trusted me. And so, they originally didn't even want to like take portraits. And I was like, no, you got to trust me. Like, we're going outside. And so they're like, we're having so much fun. Are you sure? Yeah. And they ended up, I'll put it this way. I shot their wedding. Then the next year when I was back in town, I shot their newborn photos.
Oh,
And then I came back and saw the baby just a few months ago, and it was a year later from that. So
oh,
we've stayed in contact. So um,
man,
that was just fun, and they were just amazing people. Yeah,
that's awesome.
yeah, yeah.
You touched back on a previous question about something that sets you apart from other photographers. What is there anything else that you feel that sets you apart from others?
I mean, I guess it's really just I try to like bring me into it as much as possible, because the thing is like I've never I felt like when it came to starting to do this for work, like I had criteria for it. Like I was one of those I'm still one of those people who like, you know, I want to make money, but like money doesn't dictate how I move through life, right?
Good.
So I'm one of those people who's ready to quit anything at any moment in time once it starts being something that's not, I don't want to say not fun anymore, like,
Right.
because I don't come from a life where I could just not do something because it's not fun, but where it's, this is not good for me anymore, or this is like, I'm sensing something within me, I gotta do something else. And so like, photography wasn't any different. And so when I came into it, I just decided like, hey, like whenever this doesn't work, just, you don't have to keep doing this, you know what I mean? And also like, the goal was always to just make sure I'm enjoying it, you know what I
Of
mean? And
course.
so when I stop enjoying it is when I'll stop. And so when I'm there, I remember that same couple, when I was shooting their engagement session, um, they just stopped me. She stopped me in the middle of the session and was like, I see why you do this now. I see why you're supposed to be doing this. And I was like, what are you talking
Oh,
about? And she said, you are just smiling the whole time. I'm just watching you and you're like enjoying this as much as we do. And they're like, you love doing this. And I was like, I don't realize that I'm, until I started noticing, and I am like, it gives me like actual joy to process. And so like, you know, my clients pick up on that, and
yeah.
it creates like this, magnetizing thing where I feel like I'm able to get things out of them that they didn't even know that they were able to get, you know what I
Right.
mean? And so, because people are always surprised by the amount of people who I said, who, I tell them, these people are so nervous, they could barely even, you know what I mean? Like, it's a connection thing, you know. I think we're at this point in time where there's so many killer photographers out there. There's so many people who edit awesome. There's so many people who are traveling around the world doing this thing. You know, we have so many choices now. You
Yeah.
know, so you can put your hand in a hat and pick out a name that's going to give you amazing photos. But
Right.
like as far as like, you know, feeling like you're connecting with the person, I feel like I'm able to give an experience that just feels really down to earth and real, you know,
That's
and
awesome.
brings out the best in them,
Yeah.
you know. So,
Because it
um,
even says on your website that you're cheesy and you're smiling behind the camera a lot, and that you are that you apologize
yeah,
for your future wife,
yeah,
which I thought
it's
was so
true.
funny.
It's
Love
so
that.
true. Like, you know, and this is like that. I mean, shoot, everything that about me just came from the years of like getting feedback from other people, you know, like you kind of like I really am a believer that you got to look outside of yourself to understand your process.
Yeah.
And because sometimes we're just go, go, go. We don't like stop to look at ourselves outside of ourselves. But once you do that and you acknowledge, like, okay, like this is working, and you could dig deeper and go deeper into that,
Right.
you know, and really build from there. And so I was like, okay, this works well when I'm enjoying it. So
Oh yeah.
let me keep enjoying it.
That's awesome. And I
Yeah.
think this one's going to be easy for you. Like, what was a good time, or what was a really good moment where you had really went above and beyond for a couple?
Um, I mean, I, so I straight up this couple who, this couple was amazing. Who like for all my clients, I super push getting an engagement shoot. Like
Yes.
shoot shoot it with me
And the
beforehand.
benefit is why.
Oh, because then that trust is really built from the
Right.
beginning. You know, it's night and day the amount of like trust and you know just familiarity you have with a person and even their families going in because if they have an amazing experience, they're going to talk to everyone about it.
Oh, yeah.
Like they're going to talk to everyone about it. And you know, because a lot of people don't expect certain things out of a photo shoot. They think it's just gonna be like, I'm here, just take pictures, boo, boo, boo. But you know, I always do like the small stuff, like putting on the music and you know, walking through everything. I tell them the first 20 minutes are gonna be horrible, just get used to that. And like I kind of just let them have the momentum on their side. But there's one time where I actually, you know, it was an amazing client. I was like, you guys need to, you know, do this engagement shoot with me. And it was actually that same, it was them. Um, and I actually coordinated the whole thing for it. I found like this super like cheap, like yurt out here. And I was like, just, just go. Like, I'm gonna set it up for you. You know what I mean? And you guys don't have to worry about any of that stuff. And then you're just gonna show up.
Right.
And hopefully you like what I set up for you. You know what I mean? And I came and they were just blown away. Like
Oh,
they uh they didn't know what to plan for. That's part of the thing was like, you know, some people just don't know how to do this. You know what I mean? Like
right.
and an engagement shoot is something I'm, you know, learning outside of the photography world is kind of bizarre to a lot of people, you know. And so, you know, getting them to want to like trust me to plan it and, you know, front my own money, you know, to do it because I was like, I'm pushing this because
Right.
I really think this is going to be an amazing wedding and I really want to have you guys on my side. Like
Right.
that is what got me to the point where I was photographing their kid, you know what I mean? And so
Oh,
it it just was kind of going out of my way. I mean, it didn't cost that much, honestly. It was a dirt cheap yurt, you know what I mean? Like it
right.
was a pretty one, but it was like it was cheap, you know. It was like $50 or something like that, you know what I mean?
Damn.
And you know, it was a you know, it was I mean, it was $50 well spent, you know.
Hell yeah. That's awesome.
Yeah.
So, all right. So, give everybody a really either funny, well, mostly funny, a fun fact about you.
Fun fact about me. Uh, I tell people in bad pictures I look like a Ninja Turtle. Um, it's true. It's
Oh
true.
my God.
I
Which
only t- I look real Donatello-ish, in a
I
bad
could see
photo.
that.
Yeah, you know what I mean. Like I'm one of those people who like take either great pictures or really horrible ones. I have nothing in the middle. And so yeah, I look like a Ninja Turtle sometimes. Um, what else? I'm not that tall. That's not funny though. That's not a funny thing about me. What? Uh,
I'm not laughing.
I mean, shoot, that one. I wish I had more time because I could roast myself pretty good, but I can't really think about it right now.
Well, I will say this. I had a crush on, oh my God, I had a crush on Raphael, which you know, but wait, it's not the
There's
cartoon.
so much wrong with that.
No, I know, but the reason why is because he was the bad boy and he was the first turtle to say damn. All right, give me some props.
Donatello. I mean, no, you said Raphael.
Raphael.
There you go,
Like when
Ralph.
he lost his like three prong, whatever they call thing, and he screams damn at the and in the rain on, oh my God, the fact that I'm remembering this is not good.
Whoa,
Right.
you
I
really
went
know about the Ninja
I
Turtle.
well, I only know about that man. Like I only know about Raphael. That was it. So that was awesome.
Yeah, but I discovered that.
Well, who told
Yeah,
you
like
that?
me, myself, my brain. I was like, what does this look like? I look like a Ninja Turtle, man.
What the hell? Did you have a sword in your hand or something?
No, I just have this like just the shape of my face,
Oh my
and
God.
then I definitely because I remember one time I was on the Jurassic Park ride at Universal Studios,
That's
and
awesome.
yeah, but like the picture came back so embarrassing because like I already have like a huge smile, right? And so like, but like I was like smiling and bracing myself, and
Yeah,
so
because that
like
drop is big.
I was like this the whole time, and people are like, "Man, you look like one of them dinosaurs." And so like I'll put like so I smile like a dinosaur pretty much too. Like you ever seen like a Tyrannosaurus Rex in his mouth?
Oh, of course.
I got a dinosaur smile.
Damn. Well, the good thing is at least you don't look like Splinter
No, that
or
would be
Shredder
nasty.
or Shredder.
Any of them. I'd rather be a frog instead of any of them. Well,
Well, Frog turns into a prince in some stories, so
yeah.
right?
I'd rather be a turtle than them then.
Love that's true. There you
Yeah, yeah.
go. Is there, let's see, is there a good, like, solid piece of advice that you would give a couple who's planning their wedding?
Yeah. Um, Ask all the questions. Like, don't be afraid to ask anything. Don't always get a face to face with these people. You
Yes.
know what I mean? If it at all possible, and if not, if you're out of state, at least, have multiple like FaceTime sessions. Like make it as real as possible. Um, just do whatever you can to make it a real relationship, not just a transactional relationship.
Right.
Because at the end of the day, like you're investing like large quantities of money
Right.
in a individual. Um, you want to you want to trust them, and whatever you could do to build that is worth doing. You know what I mean?
Right.
And so if you don't feel that way, if you're getting some sort of like odd feeling, or are feeling like you want to control too much of it, or you don't like something about them but the price is good, like don't book that person, because you're gonna inevitably be unhappy with something. So
Right.
go with something, go with someone that you're sold about, from their personality to their look, to how they edit, um, because you'll be doing yourself a favor in the long run. You're gonna love what you get back. And also, because I was talking to a pair of new clients about this just recently, is you want to make sure that you aren't shopping to look like whoever's in this photo, right?
Yes.
Like, you know, they were saying they were having a hard time, they wanted to book with me, they were, 98% sure, but it was scary, just their first time doing anything like this, spending all this money. They're both like two very artistic, like, folks. He's an architect, she's an interior designer. And so they wanted
Nice.
to go with a artist they trust too,
Right.
and they were like, we don't know how to approach this. Like, do we, you know, tell you like what we want? Like, do you just do it all? Like, you know, um, we have these pictures we've been looking at from these other photographers, and we're like, we don't know, like, do we say we want this? Do we say we want that? Like, do we go with them because that, and and so what I realized is like, I need to start saying this to my clients is like, you're never going to get the photos that you see. Like, you're never going to, the photos that you see on someone's blog, that's their wedding day. So
Right.
that's not your wedding day.
Right.
So it's never going to look like that. But it is going to look like, if you get an honest photographer who's doing their job right, it's going to look like your wedding day. You know what I mean? So don't, you know, uh, put yourself too far in another wedding blog or Instagram post shoes, for your expectations,
Right.
kind of just set those expectations aside, trust who you're working with, and
Right.
know, like, if you do, then your wedding day is going to look like your wedding day. It's going to look how it should, you know what I
Right.
mean? Um, and, just because I think this is a whole new, like, world that brides and grooms are in now, where they see a lot of work on the internet, and it kind of makes things even more confusing for them, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So just helping reel them back in, and kind of, help them see what's important. And so, yeah, I try to give just down to earth,
That's
advice to them,
awesome.
you know
Because I think, like you said, the couples are going more for prices. They're not going for a value of what someone can offer. But what they don't understand is by going with someone by just price and they don't fully trust them, they're actually going to be spending more money. It may not be like green money, but time is more to
hmm
me as a bigger currency than actual green money. So it's all dependent.
absolutely.
Right.
And it's like, I get it, I get it. Like, wedding photographers are expensive, man. you know some days I'm like, do I want to pay this much? I got to remind myself of what I'm bringing to the table to justify them paying this much.
Right.
You know what I mean? Because, like, some of these, like, you put a couple zeros behind a number, and that's, I mean, I'm not jumping to spend that either. You know what I mean? So, like, I get it. And so that's, like, you're so right. It's more important. They got to do even more homework. If you're on a limited budget, do more homework. You know what I mean? Like, if you, like, you got to just trust it with the professional you're hiring.
Right.
I need to trust my plumber, if my toilet goes down, you know what I mean? I need to trust my mechanic if my car goes down, you know what I mean?
Right.
Like, you got to trust the professionals you're hiring.
Yep. And if I think I'm going to get probably a lot of flack for this, but I don't care. Um, if there's a photographer or a videographer that you want and they're a little bit out of your budget, you can always ask the question, hey, is there any way we can make like we can split it up into another payment? I want to pay that price because I want you.
Yeah.
Right.
Like, and the thing is, like, there's a difference between someone trying to lowball you and between someone being honest and saying, I want to book you so bad, and it's totally fine if there's nothing that can be done. I understand. Like, what can we do to make this work? You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, appeal to them as like a person. You know what I mean? Because I've worked out, payment plans or whatever.
Yeah.
Because, like, the thing is, like, I was like, okay, this is gonna be, a dope wedding with, great people. I rather, there's this actual, like, sales tactic for the service industry, um, like, service and maintenance industry, and after you show the, prices for whatever you're gonna do, it's so you ask them, so is there anything beyond price that would stop you from going with me for XYZ, right?
Right.
And so if the answer is no, then you work with them from that point.
Right.
It's a whole different thing if they just don't want to work with you.
Right.
But if price is, the deciding factor, some people gonna hate me for this too. I think that you could find a way to work it out. You know what I
There
mean?
is.
I'm not saying give them a 50% discount or anything like that, but I'm just like, see what can be done, as
Right.
far as like, you know, logistics on, how you're gonna handle it,
Yeah, because you and I, like, we value our time just as much as anybody else. So, for instance, like, I'll give a discount to some couples that if they don't want to do a flash drive and they just rather do something online, like, I'm willing to not have to go put stuff on a flash drive, go take it to the mail or the post office and stuff like that. So, if they're able to do like little things like that, I can make some kind of adjustments because they're making my life easier. So, yeah.
Yeah, so it's like, give and take.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So, all right. So, how can these couples find you? By website and Instagram?
So no, www.rodneybrownphotography.com. It's my website. Then you can always catch me on Instagram. It's RDNYBRWN. So it's basically Rodney
No,
Brown,
without
no
vowels.
vowels.
Yeah.
Yeah. And yeah, and you mentioned it. I have my presets, and that's tones with a Z for humans presets, and that's the Instagram, just tones for human presets.
And I've seen the before and afters, and the before and afters are absolutely insane. Insane. They're
Thank you.
gorgeous. You are
Thank you.
super freaking talented. And I can't
Oh,
thank you
man.
enough for just coming on here. So, you're awesome.
Oh no, I appreciate the invite. Absolutely. I know I ramble, so
No, it's
everyone
perfect.
who's listening, I apologize in advance for how easily I get off track.
I'll cut it all out. No, I'm joking. No, but seriously, thank you so much.